Hello everyone, how are you? How is your families? Listen, I was just watching the news and I just saw this statistics that they are estimating that we will lose 75,000 Americans. We will lose 75,000 Americans due to high unemployment. We're gonna lose them to suicide. We're gonna lose them to even poor worse health conditions. Okay, we're gonna lose them to domestic abuse. We're gonna lose them to mental health. We're gonna lose them to high blood pressure from the stress. So if we are talking that we had lost 77,000 Americans to the coronavirus, COVID, Wuhan virus, I don't care what you care. I don't care what you call it. This green ugly virus out there. Okay, but we have been warning for 2 months about the other side of the story, about the economic story, and everyone was like, you're selfish, you're just talking, you worry about job, you're worried about business, which thank God I'm not, my business is booming, but this is beside that. Okay, but you can't just tackle one issue from one point of view, which is the medical health science, without talking about the economy and the other effects on human beings. Okay, we don't live in a zoo where the humans actually get to sit and stuck at home and the animals are the one who's roaming the streets. This is not normal. Okay, every day the more numbers that's coming out, the more it is proving that everything have been said and done was just from one point of view, and a lot of people now is actually thinking more deeply into this and think this is more political than it's actually more about caring about healthcare. Okay, and let's talk about the government of California out there, who just announced yesterday, made an executive order that all his states will vote by mailing. Okay, this is in November. We're in May. The same guy who have a very strict lockdown policy in all his state was 40 million Americans live in California. Okay, they don't know why the hell they are being locked down. He lost 3,000 people according to Johns Hopkins. According to the CDC, he actually only lost 1,100 people in 40 million. You know how many he lost to other causes? Over 90,000 February 1st till today. But he's issuing an executive order to make voting in the presidential election by mailing. That just tells you about the fraud we're gonna experience coming in November. That just tells you like a lot of this being done and said and done around the country have nothing to do with the virus, and it's more about being political. Okay, let's look on another side. Okay, Pennsylvania, here is a state, okay, that lost 3,000 people. When they did the study, they lost, from the 3,000 people, they lost almost 75% of the population that they lost was over the age of 75, and 68% of them was in nursing homes. So when I made a research, when I looked at all the other pandemics, including the Spanish flu, by the way, every pandemic, never in the history of this great republic that we quarantine the healthy. Never happened. Never in our history. Now, as people are thinking, New York, the worst hotspot, Cuomo himself came 2 days ago and they found in a study on 1,000 people, 66% from the people who were admitted to the hospital with COVID-19 or coronavirus actually stayed at home. Let me repeat this. 66% of the people that were admitted in the hospital were people who stayed at home and they followed the lockdown. You want to hear something more crazy? 96% of the people who got admitted to the hospital have pre-existing conditions. This is exactly what we've been saying for 2 months. Quarantine the elderly. Quarantine the people with compromised immune system. Let the healthy get to work. The only way to beat the virus is our immune system. Nothing else in this life will ever beat a virus but our immune system. Why is Pennsylvania pushing their lockdown to June 4th? Why are you pushing your people to starve? Thank God we're here in Florida, phase 2 starting next week. More businesses gonna reopen. Why all the blue states are making this such a economic war? This is no longer a war against the virus. This is a war against middle class Americans. This is a war against the people to get them to keep asking for handouts, asking for money from the government. And by the way, California, a failing state, was the first state to ask to borrow money from the federal government to pay for their unemployment. So follow this with me. 40 million people live in California, the largest population, the largest state in the country, the 8th largest economy in the world. Lose 3,000 people over a 2-month period, okay, shut down his economy to the point that he is bankrupt, that he's borrowing money to pay for unemployment. And then he go ahead and sign an executive order to say that next election is gonna be by mail. Are you following the pattern with me? This have nothing to do with the virus. This is the most BS we've ever heard in recent history. In 2009, 2010, the worst unemployment, the highest level of unemployment was 10.41%. As of the end of April, we are at 14.57%. In 2 months, just in the month of April, we lost estimated 25 million jobs. We've never seen that bad of a number since the Great Depression in 1929. It's just that bad. You hear about counties who have no cases and they are still locked down. And when I look at the map of the United States, the 50 states, I only see one thing in common between New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, California, all these failed states. The one thing that's common between them is corruption, high taxes, high unemployment, very low infrastructure. Their people who governing them is focusing on one thing, to keep the people poor. So the people keep asking for handouts, so they come as the heroes. They are enslaving their own people to ask for the government help. And instead of helping, investing in their people education, investing in their people health and well-being, they are investing in handouts to keep the people coming back and voting because they want them to be begging for money. This should be ending before the month of May, the end of month of May, because I am telling you, this is way more dangerous than what you think. These people are willing to sacrifice your health, they are willing to sacrifice your life, they are willing to sacrifice the economy of this country, they are willing to sacrifice all of us for one simple goal, to take over the White House in November. They know that Joe Biden will never be able to make it. They are trying to hide him from campaigning. They are struggling. And who's paying is me and you. And 90%, I want every one of you watching this video, look around you. Any one of your friends who's telling you to stay home, I bet you my life, he have a job or he's still getting a paycheck. They are the selfish. When you go to feed your kids, you're not selfish. When you go out there to grow this country economy, you're not selfish. When you're out there working and paying taxes so this money can go to the veterans or go to people who are actually on retirement or go to Medicare, you're not selfish. It's you asshole, sitting home and you're getting a paycheck, okay, and you're not even worried about it, and you're asking people to sit home and your business is booming. It's you who are the selfish. It's every politician out there telling people to stay home, lose their jobs, lose their business for the name of the greater good while he's still getting his paycheck. Screw you all of you, one by one. Just they introduced a legislation, and here's the funny thing about it. It's number 6666 in the Congress. It was introduced on May 1st. They want to come to your home and test you and test your family. They want to come to your workplace and force you to be tested. I don't think this legislation is going to go anywhere. But a bunch of Democrats already introduced that on May 1st. Please Google it. Legislation 6666. They are going crazy. They are losing it. They are absolutely losing it, from their Nancy Pelosi, their boss, their guard, eating ice cream in California, okay, to their little mayors around the country who are wearing face masks on national TV. Well, guess what? Fauci actually said himself, no one needs to wear a face mask. This craziness have to stop before our kids develop more mental problems for the rest of their lives. Before we see more women with black eyes. Before we see more people committing suicide because they just watched the business they worked all their life for they are losing it in front of their eyes. Before we see more social unrest, before we see theft, before we see killing, before we see people turning against each other. And all of this for political gain. There's no damn greater good when you starve people to death. There's just no damn greater good. And when they tell you stay safe, stay home, they don't realize that for millions of people in America, staying home is not safe. I'm fortunate with my family that staying home is safe. But how about the millions? When are we gonna stop being selfish and think about ourselves and pointing fingers on others? Why don't we think about those who are actually losing their jobs? Why don't we lose about those who are losing their businesses? Why we are not thinking about those who are going through so stress, financial stress, who are getting divorced because of what's happening? Okay, why don't we think about these kids who are getting abused right now at their homes? Why we not think about the ladies who are getting beaten up by their husbands who lost their job and getting drunk? Why we not think about all these people? All what you think about is COVID and virus and bullshit. Think about all these millions out there. Okay? Don't be selfish. Get this economy rolling. Protect our elderly. Protect the people with compromised immune. Get the hell back to work.